All right, let's dive into some real talk about the Bears on what's going on around the league as we edge closer to training camp. There's been a lot of chatter about the Bears' biggest roster needs, and honestly, the edge rusher spot keeps popping up as the most critical. If you think about it, this team could be just one serious injury away from facing some real questions when it comes to their pass rush. Montez Sweat's health is obviously a huge factor, and if something happens to him, it leaves a big hole that nobody on the current roster seems ready to fill. Dio Dango, for example, has been surprisingly quiet during OTAs and minicamps. Now, that doesn't necessarily spell doom, but it's a little concerning when you're not hearing anything notable about a player expected to help rush the passer. The same goes for Austin Booker, who also hasn't made much noise in camp. When a guy like Dominique Robinson becomes the main story among pass rushers, it's not exactly reassuring. Even if Robinson improves enough to rotate in, the chances of him becoming a game-changing impact player feel pretty slim. This leaves a glaring question mark. Can the Bears find or add an edge rusher who can make a real difference? It feels like the need for that position overshadows pretty much everything else on defense. Looking around the league, the landscape this year is shaping up with some clear bottom feeders and teams in transition. If I had to pick who might be the worst in the NFL, I'd probably say the Saints stand out the most. They have talent, sure, but they're stuck in a tough spot right now. The Browns also come to mind. They have some decent players, but their quarterback situation is shaky at best, which makes their outlook uncertain. The Giants also get mentioned a lot in this conversation. They might be a bit better than the Saints and Browns, but their schedule is brutal, which could drag them down. The Jets seem to have a bit more promise. They'll be scrappy and competitive. Miami could drop off hard if Tua Tagovailoa isn't healthy, but if he is, they're likely looking at winning 6 or 7 games. The Patriots are showing signs of improvement, so they might not be as bad as some expect. And the Colts? There's a question mark there, especially with rumors about Jonathan Taylor's shoulder and Daniel Jones possibly stepping in as the starter, which could really shake things up. But at the core, the Saints, Giants, and Browns feel like the teams most likely to struggle as we get closer to the season. Switching back to the Bears, there's been some interesting talk about cornerback moves. Would it make sense to sign a player like Jalen Alexander and trade away Tyreek Stevens, assuming Alexander was healthy? The idea sounds great on paper, because if Alexander can stay on the field, he and Jalen Johnson would form one of the best cornerback duos in the NFL. But the problem is Alexander's injury history. He's missed more than half of the last 4 seasons combined, which is a serious red flag. The Bears probably won't be going after him, especially since Tyreek Stevenson looks promising in this new defensive scheme that relies heavily on press man coverage, which suits his skill. While Alexander might be a better player when healthy, the risk seems too high. It feels smarter for the Bears to focus on adding a pass rusher instead, like Za'Darius Smith, who could provide a bigger impact on defense. Speaking of defensive players, breaking out, one of the Bears' biggest hopes is for a defensive lineman to take that next big step this year. Austin Booker and Javon Dexter come up as prime candidates. Dexter, in particular, has shown the potential to be a 10-sack defensive tackle, which would be a massive boost to this defense. On the cornerback front, if the Bears can solidify that second corner spot, pairing whoever fills that role with Jalen and Kyler Gordon could give them one of the toughest corner trios in the league. It's really about getting those young players to step up and hold their own consistently. When it comes to managing the roster and salary cap, there's always curiosity about who's pulling the strings behind the scenes. While the team's cap specialist handles the nitty-gritty of contracts and signing bonuses, the general manager is heavily involved in setting the overall strategy. They work closely together, deciding how much to pay up front in signing bonuses to manage the cap. Hits year to year. It's a delicate balancing act, but it's clear that the GM has a big say in what players are worth and what the team can afford. Back on the roster needs, edge rusher remains the most talked about priority heading into camp. You could argue other positions like running back, safety, or linebacker might also be needs, but nothing seems to outweigh the necessity of adding edge help. Whether it's a starter or a rotational player, that spot needs to be addressed. Let's say, talk receivers for a moment. DJ Moore is expected to have a huge year, potentially surpassing 2,000 receiving yards, even with a crowded group of targets. He's proven he can be productive, even in less than ideal passing attacks. 2 years ago, with Justin Fields and Tyson Bean throwing, Moore had over 1,300 yards. That was impressive given the overall offensive struggles. Moore has a track record of multiple 1,000-yard seasons, so expecting him to hit those marks again is reasonable. The real question is whether he can replicate the explosive plays that made him so dangerous before. 2 years ago, he averaged 14 yards per catch, but last season it dropped to about 10 yards per catch. Reigniting those big plays will be key to his success this year, especially as other receivers like Romaine Dunlap, Cole Kmet, and CJ Loveland get more involved, along with emerging talents like Luther Burden and Lamed Zaccheaus. On the defensive front, there's still talk about adding Trey Hendrickson to the mix. Although his contract situation isn't settled, bringing him in would be a game changer for the Bears' defensive line and edge rush group. If Hendrickson or Montez Sweat can stay healthy and Diodango continues to improve, the Bears could transform what's been a weakness into a strength. Dango's versatility, playing both edge and three-tech positions, gives the defense valuable flexibility. Austin Booker and Dominique Robinson add depth and potential, while Billings Turner can provide solid reps. Adding a consistent double-digit sack guy like Hendrickson would create a domino effect, boosting the confidence and performance of the entire front four. On offense, outside of Caleb Williams, the focus is on players like Romaine Dunlap, the second-year receiver who was a top 10 draft pick. Dunlap needs to show he can be more than just a role player. He needs to be a consistent, dominant number 2 receiver. While he had a solid rookie season and was productive for a wide receiver 3, the next step is proving he can handle being a reliable target and make big plays regularly. Picking up where we left off, the Bears' off-season moves and training camp outlook paint an intriguing picture, especially when you consider the balance they have to strike between immediate impact and long-term development. The edge rusher situation remains the center of attention, and there's no denying that whoever steps up in that role will shape the identity of the defense. Montez Sweat, if he stays healthy, could anchor the pass rush, but relying solely on him is risky. The rotation behind him needs to show real promise, and that's why adding someone like Trey Hendrickson is still on many fans' wish lists. His ability to consistently pressure quarterbacks could unlock the entire defensive front, making life easier for the linebackers and secondary. Depth is crucial because injuries are almost inevitable over the grind of an NFL season, and the Bears cannot afford to have a pass rush that disappears if a starter goes down. On the offensive side, the focus on wide receivers highlights a transition phase. Justin Fields' development is tied closely to how well his targets can perform. DJ Moore's expected breakout season adds a reliable weapon, but the supporting cast also matters a lot. Romaine Dunlap needs to prove he can handle being the number 2 option consistently. If he takes that leap, it opens up the offense in a big way. Cole Kmet and CJ Loveland offer stability and versatility, while young players like Luther Burden and Lamed Zaccheaus bring fresh energy and potential. Balancing these pieces will be key for the Bears to keep defenses honest and give Fields the confidence to take more risks. Defensively, the cornerback situation is intriguing. The trio of Jalen Johnson, Kyler Gordon, and whoever locks down the second corner spot could be one of the toughest groups in the league, but it all hinges on consistency and health. The new scheme that emphasizes press man coverage fits the skill sets of players like Tyreek Stevenson, and it'll be interesting to see how well this defense adapts. Sometimes the scheme can mask weaknesses by forcing quarterbacks into tougher throws, but it demands discipline and physicality from the secondary. If the Bears get that right, they'll create turnovers and disrupt offenses more effectively. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Chicago Bears. And don't be shy, drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In a surprising turn of events that has left NFL insiders buzzing, Chicago Bears legend Brian Urlacher made a cryptic statement earlier this week that has reignited speculation about major changes brewing in the Windy City. Speaking during a podcast appearance that quickly went viral among Bears fans, Urlacher teased what many are interpreting as a potential shift in leadership or philosophy within the organization he once led on the field with unrelenting passion. "I think the Bears are finally waking up," Urlacher said with a knowing smile. "Sure, there are things going on behind the scenes that could change everything, and I'm not just talking about the roster." While he didn't elaborate further, those few words have been enough to light a fire of speculation across social media and sports talk shows. Could Urlacher be hinting at a possible front office shakeup, a new ownership strategy, or perhaps their fans' dream, a return of a Hall of Fame linebacker to the franchise in an advisory or leadership role? The Bears have struggled for consistency in recent seasons, and with new talent emerging but results remaining inconsistent, any sign of deeper changes is bound to attract attention. Urlacher, known for his intense loyalty to the Bears and his no-nonsense attitude, rarely makes public comments unless he has something meaningful to say. That's why fans and analysts alike are reading between the lines. Some believe his words are a not-so-subtle signal that internal discussions are underway regarding a potential restructuring, either in coaching, executive leadership, or even ownership intentions. Others are wondering whether Urlacher himself could be eyeing a more formal role with the team. While he has long remained a proud alum and vocal supporter, the idea of him stepping back into Hallas Hall in a more official capacity would electrify a fan base hungry for identity and direction. As of now, nothing is confirmed, and those close to the Bears front office are keeping tight-lipped. But in a league where rumors often have roots in reality, Urlacher's comment may be more than just a nostalgic remark. It could be the calm before a storm in Chicago. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Chicago Bears, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.